Hi, so I decided to make a video for the final project, and I have my notes here on the iPad so that I'm gonna try to not mess up, but I'm just gonna try to make it seem like a conversation so I don't get too nervous. So the first question was describing the personal curriculum philosophy. So I think that in a lot of the curriculum in education, it's not just so strictly, math, science, English, geography. I think that we learn a lot more in the school systems. And I think that everything that we learn, a lot of it comes from the curricula, like, null curriculum, the enacted curriculum. A lot of the things that we learn in life are just from those small things in school. So I think that school and education plays a big part in what we learn as students and then what we learn as people when we get older. And I guess one example of that would be the social skills that we learn in the school system. I think starting from a very young age, kindergarten, preschool, we learn sharing, we learn things like cleanup. I mean, we have songs to do, to learn how to clean up after ourselves. And as we get older, we do group projects, and a lot of that ends up sticking with us for the rest of our lives. And these are skills that we develop over time, that we learn in the curriculum that's not exactly, written down. So as teachers and as students, I think that the curriculum is not, just so strictly based on our typical English, math, science. I think that it's a lot more than that. I think that now as teachers and looking at our students, we can see that we develop or find some of our identity within the school system, whether that be from teaching or whether that be from learning about different topics in history or just the social environment in the school system. So that's where I come to talk about culturally responsive pedagogy, and how important that is to be incorporated into the school system, especially where, there's so many marginalized groups out there, and we're living in a world of inequality and inequity. And I think that having a curriculum that includes those relevant topics helps create more of a safe space and a space of belonging where students feel included and they feel seen. And just to kind of display how important I think that culturally relevant teaching is through personal experience. I mean, I went to an mostly all white school, and I was the only Asian girl in my class out of 90. It was also a small school, but I was the only Asian girl in my class. The representation really lacked, especially in the curriculum and in the school, and even in social media and what we see on TV. That was really hard for me it wasn't necessarily to find my identity, but it definitely made me feel a little isolated in my identity. I couldn't find anyone to relate with. There was no one in the books to be excited about. I found myself in college more being excited. I think the last class we read an article about Cambodian Americans, and I was like, wow, that's so exciting. That would have been so nice to have as, a young student, to be able to read stuff like that, because I didn't know much about, myself or the community, and let alone women of color. So it's really important to have that representation in the teaching, and having a curriculum that includes, people of different colors, different, gender, sex. Yeah. Now I'll be explaining how I would implement my philosophy within my teaching. I would like to do this by just allowing for flexibility and creativity in the classroom. I would love to give students a chance to be a part of creating what they learn, And by this, I mean, projects, coming up with ideas of what they want to do in order to grasp the information better. I want students to also learn from their other students. So I don't want them to just be learning from me like a lecture. I want them to be coming up and talking about, what they learned, because they probably honestly listen to them a lot more. And a part of that would be creating a classroom community where they feel comfortable in talking about, what they would like to do and what topics they would like to learn. I want them to be fully creative mode in the classroom. I don't want them to just sit in an assigned seat and just watch me stand in front of the board for 50 minutes. I want the classroom to be a community and not a classroom, a typical classroom. And I guess to have that student involvement where they can, be creative and one day be up there on the board teaching their peers what they learned, or working in a group setting together. I think that creates more, not just a community, but just more engagement in the classroom. And I think they would actually grasp more information rather than just sitting and listening to a lecture. I mean, for example, we learn so much when we have our discussions in our class for grad school. And we, rather than sitting and, watching a professor rant for a while, we have the opportunity to talk to each other as a conversation, as a class, about certain topics. And I think that's what actually makes us grasp the information more, rather than, a slideshow going on and a professor just clicking something and reading off the slide. I think that it's so important to have those discussions and to have communication within the classroom to create a better space for students. I think now, having learned a lot from these past 3 classes, how I would make decisions differently when implementing a curriculum is first asking myself, who is being left out? Who could be hurt by what is being taught? I think that these are questions that are important for all of us to ask, considering that most of us work in schools that are very high in percentage of minorities. So it is really important to ask who is being left out of the curriculum, what is not really being addressed that should be addressed in the curriculum. I think that conflict is a really hard thing for me, but because I'm not really good at conflict. But if I were to be in a situation where, the curriculum given did conflict with my personal beliefs, that's definitely hard, because I think that, there's certain needs and expectations that needs to be met. So I think that I'd feel comfortable enough talking to my supervisor, hey, could I modify this curriculum a bit where the expectations will be met, but it would be, what do you call it? Projected? I guess that's a hard one. I couldn't find the word, but that's a hard one because, my belief could honestly be shit. And here I am, modifying the curriculum to be part of my belief. But I would try to modify it to fit the needs of the students and to fit, their interests. I think that's the way I would modify it, not based really off my beliefs, but based off what, would be more beneficial for the students. So, thank you.